Welcome back, viewers. You are looking at Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates Television, and we continue our conversations this morning. Joining me on set is Mr. Curtis Douglas, President of the All Tobago Fisherfolk Association. So good morning, Curtis.
Good morning to you, and share the live, share the live.
That's right. It's never too late. So let the others get in on the action. For those who may not be familiar with this association, can you just give us a broad view of what this association is all about?
All right. This association is the All Tobago Fisherfolk Association. This was founded in the late 80s, 90s. By a group of fisher folks that will be able to represent fisher folk, and in 2004, around there, 2014, it was issued by the High Court to represent all fisher folk on the island of Tobago. So that deal with all the legal matters, all the anything that pertaining to the fisheries, the environment, and the marine space. We are responsible for that. So if a fisherman have a problem,
right,
the onus is onto the association. I only became the president in the last 2 years.
Okay.
Right. So it's elected. We have elections to determine who is the fisher folk. So no one just sit in a chair and say, well,
right,
that is this.
Right.
So we also was recognized by the government of Trinidad and Tobago, recognized by the UN. We're recognized worldwide.
Right.
And we are also recognized in Europe for representing fisher folk in the island. So our dual role and function is like the union for the fishermen,
right,
to ensure and to promote and to have data, collect GDP, contribute to the GDP the fishing industry,
right,
and give you all a whole cadre of
right,
what we do.
And I'm glad that you explained it, because sometimes of course I always say it takes all of us to make the world go.
Correct.
And we have different viewpoints, and you have people who say, but they just fishermen, they just go out and catch fish, why they have to have all that structure and represent who? So it's good to see that there's a voice, there's representation, and you can work together as individuals to accomplish whatever goals the association would have set out.
But before I go further, I would like to make an announcement, Natalie. What happened? We have just lost an ex-fishing boat from Plymouth that was stolen last night, wee hours this morning. They were tampered. Some of the boat were tampered. Some of the gas jug were tampered. The name of the boat is Try Again. One of the boats, his name is really basically goes by Richards, or AKA Britain, and they would have stole gas from a boat named Ask Your Mother and stuff like that. So right now we are in the search or in the hunt to see how best we could retrieve back Try Again. It's a blue and white pirogue, 28-footer, to see how best we could get him to earn to prepare again for his family.
All right, so members of the public, Try Again is the pirogue that was stolen. So if you just happen to see it, you should contact your nearest police station. If you are familiar with the fisher folk from Plymouth or any other fisher folk, you can also let them know. And I'm tempted to ask, but that's for a whole different conversation in terms of why people are stealing pirogues. But we're not here to talk about that this morning. If we have time, we can. I want you to give us an update on the Barbados dispute that has been going on, and the seismic activity, and how it is still impacting fisher folk.
Okay, that is two different matters.
Yes.
The seismic survey different from the Bajan prospect, what is taking place. Right now we are waiting to have to convey a meeting with the Chief Secretary to discuss some of the pointers that needed to implement in place to protect our fish in the stock. As a matter of fact, some of the terms that was used is basically that a fence make good neighbors, right? So these are some of the thing, and also we also have to issue him the 10-point plan that A.T.F.A would have in place. For example, just one snippet. The present license that Bajan has was since in 1990. That was the last arrangement that was given between Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados. Was in 1990. And in 1990, that arrangement was for only 1 year. No, that has since 1990. We're 2023 now.
Right.
And it states quite in the act that if a Bajan ought to come to fish in our our waters, they must have a license to fish. And the license was equated at 800 US. We are proposing that sum be increased. So, because, I mean, even though they're talking about CARICOM, I mean, Barbados can't come in our waters and just take oil and gas and just do as they please.
Right.
There have to be some form of arrangement, and you must pay taxes to the Republic.
Right.
So, we are stating that these are some of the measures need to put in place. For example, we need to know there is a feasibility study. We need the scientific evidence to ensure that the Bajans are overfishing, which they are, and we need to take proper precaution, because what should happen if we don't make those decisions now? I'm saying in the next couple of years we wouldn't have flying fish, and if we don't have flying fish, we don't have tuna, we don't have dolphin, we don't have the other pelagic species. So right now we haven't came to a settled agreement, so we are waiting on the initiative or the leadership from the Chief Secretary to have that meeting to discuss and the way forward, and have a biological meeting between the Bajans and our assembly to ensure that we work out a arrangement, because a temporary meeting was held between the Foreign Affairs, T.H.A, and the Barbados contingency. But I didn't think anything predominant or sound would have came out of that agreement, because as Mr. Chavez said, he have to meet with us to ensure with Tobago's standpoints and the fishermen in Tobago's standpoints. So in moving forward,
get a better understanding, and that's fair enough. So let's talk a little bit about the seismic survey that's going on, because I know in the past Fisherfolk would speak out about it, how it has impacted. Is that still an issue today?
Right. Seismic survey, to those who don't understand, seismic survey is a challenge to Fisherfolk, but it's also a way of the fishery, the energy company knowing whether we have natural gas and oil in Tobago. I just want to say to people, Tobago is flooded, is overwhelmed, is all over every spit. You gain natural gas and oil in Tobago. This ain't no news. This is something that Robinson would have spoken about. This is something what we would have done some research with the UN and we would have came up with. I mean, it's no question about it. Right? Yes. So what this seismic surveys do is give them a geographic data of where to drill, where to extract these natural minerals. Right? So it is saturated with gas and oil. Now the seismic survey, what it does, it make preservation for marine life, basically, which is dolphins, whales, and turtles. But it have nothing there to state that its Fisherfolk will be affected. So if they meet a school of fish, the seismic surveys are big streamers, just run the fish and destroy the fish eggs, and obviously so they go to other water. So it make it very difficult for we to catch fish for the next 3 to 4 to 5 years maximum. Right? So we will feel the effect. So normally you will be able to catch, like, let's say 400 or 500 pounds of fish. Seismic survey restrict that to sometimes probably even 20 pounds. Right? So that affect the whole fishing community, and with that now, not only Fisherfolk, it will affect the entire community of Tobago and Trinidad. So the seismic survey is very detrimental. So what they do, they ask for a environmental clearance. So the gas company, oil company, write to the environmental authority for EMA for clearance, right? And EMA upon that send certain restrictions for them to meet with us or whether and do certain things. But obviously the EMA is controlled by the government, so obviously so it will pass. But what we are putting in place is that the seismic survey would, even though it's going to hurt us, some form of arrangement will be put in place for the Fisherfolk so that they will be able to survive, because the fishing industry is a large industry and you cannot make all of these people unemployable because of your actions. So you must work together with us.
There must be some middle ground or compromise. Yes. And of course, we really want to talk about the Fisheries Management Bill, what it is about and where is it in the process, and how, of course, it impacts the association, the members of the association.
Right. The Fisheries Management Bill, this bill is a 450-page document, right? And that 450-page document speaks to mostly entirely about how things should be operated and stuff like that. But my main concern is not only, is not Tobago, is not Trinidad. My main concern is the responsibility of the directors and the fishery management, what it speaks to Tobago and how it speaks to Tobago fishing industry, and what does that mean to Tobagonian, and what does that mean to the daily person that living on the street and how it would affect them. Because in this bill, it says here in section 7, all right, the responsibilities and powers of the director of Tobago. The director of Tobago shall carry out the function assigned to him in the act and shall act on the behalf of the secretary as provided in the act. You can't get a director acting on the behalf of a secretary. I mean, that is where the first you went wrong. In the act, you have to learn to respect the responsibility of the teacher. It doesn't matter who's in power.
Right. And so that secretary would be the secretary as defined in the act, or?
Correct.
Okay, not Tobago House of Assembly.
Tobago House of Assembly secretary.
Okay.
So he should act in that manner. Okay. And he should not take instruction from the secretary.
Okay.
Right? So all of that in itself in one package is very disturbing, because we must learn to follow rules and regulation, right? From the prime minister come down, right? And if there are rules in place, it is in place for a reason. It is in place to be followed. So just in the beginning of the act is disturbing to us, right? So obviously we would have, which is A.T.F.A, we would have responded, right? Because we didn't only argue about the act, you know, we brought solutions to the table,
right?
To say, well, this need to be reviewed and this need to be reviewed and that needs to be reviewed. But just to give you a little bit of snippet of I know we have limited time.
Yes.
I know we have limited time. So I'll have to just browse through it.
Yes.
The act speak that if you're convicted, right? So if an individual is convicted and you go to jail and whatever, you need to apply for a license to go to fish. Once you are convicted for 2 years or so, you will not be able to get a fisherman license for 2 years. So even if you have your money, you want to buy a boat, and you said, listen, I'm unemployed and you want to go and feed your family, it states that it does not permit you to do so, which is unfair. Because once you're incarcerated and you serve your time, you're not a convict anymore. Right? You have served your time, and we are saying no to that. And everybody must have an equal opportunity in this country, or in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, especially in Tobago, right? So we are saying no to that. That is unacceptable, right? And they are saying in the act as well, if you have a license to fish and I want to take you out to fish, we must have a license separate and apart from that. So we are paying for. So if I want to take you out for fishing, I have to license separate. If I want to take you out for joyriding, I have to have a license. And we are saying that is too draconian. Not in this modern world where people are elevating to greater things. When you adapt disease from other people, you must understand what you're adapting. It's a sickness. But you must be able to be in a position to say no. Right? This would not work for my people, because you just will want to go and take a ride down the road and say, let me just throw a line, just to throw a rod on the beach. They want to charge you a license for it. And even though you're throwing the license, if you ought to sell me, or a brother said, give me, you catch a bucket of jacks, and I say, okay, you must have a license to sell that individual that. Right? And in the act, it also speaks to the powers of the fisheries directors and staff. They have the right in this bill. They are stating quite clearly, they have the right to enter your home without a warrant, and to search you and your spouse or your family, or to search. Right? They have that power. That is against the law. That's unlawful. Right? That's unlawful, because for officers to come into your home, they must have a warrant.
Yes, correct.
And due cause. So you can't give the fisheries officers more power than the police, who is there to abide by the laws and to enforce the law. I mean, we are saying no to all of that. That is unacceptable. So there came the directors of Trinidad came to Tobago on the 16th of November to discuss or to have a consultation about this bill. Mind you, when they came, this bill was also passed by the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago. And after it was passed by the cabinet, they came now to Tobago for consultation. I mean, who does that?
So what was the purpose of the consult then?
The consultation was to find out if Tobagonians or the fisher folks in Tobago agreed with this bill And if we support this bill and the content of this bill and what it speaks to, so it was clearly rejected by the fisher folks of Tobago. And I would also said, I must say good morning to Ms. Pantin and Mr. Tate. They would have supported the fisher folk in their decision and said they was give us full support in this bill. And it speaks to the rejection in Tobagonians and the fishing.
Right. So I'm just trying to follow the process here. So the consult came not during drafting, but after it was already
What
documented.
happened? It had a slight consultation with the drafting. They call us on 2 drafting. The rest, I don't know what happened.
Right.
I would call it some kind of miscommunication. But even though the drafting, we would have sent some recommendation. And the recommendation was not astutely set upon to be reviewed. They just threw it out because anything coming from Tobago is totally null and void in their book, right? But Tobago is a different diaspora from Trinidad. It means in terms of certain type of species of fish we catch in Tobago, they don't catch it in Trinidad due to the cleanness of the water, right? So that's why in Tobago you catch flying fish. Trinidad you don't. And I just want to say Barbados you don't. Barbados do not have any flying fish, so they have to travel all that way to come to Tobago to catch our flying fish, right? And we must be able to protect our own. But back to the bill. So this bill, when they come to us to ask us about our recommendation or our opinion, what we think about it, it was totally rejected because this bill speaks to even fines up to $1 million US, 500,000, 7 for simple little things, right? If an officer come to you and you don't have your fisherman permit on you, they have a right to charge you. You don't even have time to produce, even so if you're driving a vehicle. And you should get caught with a license. At least the police give you time to present it. They're saying they want a straight fine, right? Of exorbitant. Sometimes the fine is even more than your boat itself. Right? So this needs to be reviewed. And we need to treat it local people, and we need to protect. This bill is supposed to be able to protect the individuals of Trinidad and Tobago, more so Tobago, and to protect the fishing industry and to protect our fish stocks. So ensure that our grandchildren and who come in after us will benefit because of our action that we take to protect the industry. And this bill doesn't speak to that.
Right. And I know our time is up, but I must ask, because you have highlighted things where there's great concern, but is there anything standing in the bill as it is that the fisher folk would have agreed to or supported? Anything positive that you would have, seen?
What we would have supported is that if after you would have received a license from the fisheries department and you should get caught in drug trafficking, human trafficking, gun smuggling, trafficking, these sort of trafficking that is life-threatening and disturbing to a building of a community or a republic, we are saying you should the full brunt of the law shall be passed down to you from that point of view. And these are some of the things that we agreed with. If you get in human trafficking, select slave, and these things, the full blunt of the law should be passed on to you. So it have a whole set because as I said, it's a 450 page document, and to talk about it wouldn't take 15 minutes, 10 minutes.
Definitely.
And the Trinidadian took 4 hours. Right, 4 hours in Bessie Zoop and 4 hours in Shore Park to discuss a $450 document. That goes to show the level of interest that they have. And this document did not really have the input of the fisher folks in Tobago because you want to turn the directors into gods. And we are saying no to that. And we are also saying no to the board. A board shall be comprised of 7 to 8 people, and we are saying if that is the case, 4 should be from Tobago and 3 must be from Trinidad because Tobago hold the most wealth of the fishing and the fish stock in the Caribbean.
Right. Very interesting developments, and of course we will stay in touch with you, Mr. Douglas, because we would want to know how this develops. But we are just about out of time for this interview, but we have another one coming up. Of course, we meet with Nkosi Phillips as we talk about activities for this season again. So it's your time to share the live, share the live, share the live.